In January 2012, a female correctional officer working inside of the Brickies unit of the Arkansas Department of Correction spots an inmate with contraband tennis shoes. The inmate, a 34-year-old guy serving a life sentence for murder, is confronted about the shoes and gets upset. The female officer then goes and gets a male officer, comes back, and the lifer stabs her 3 times and unalives her. That lifer, who was then sentenced to death for his crime, was put on death row and died Friday. Hello, welcome to Convict Inc. I'm your host, Robert Rosso. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. I've got a baggy shirt on. If you like this video, please push like and share it with your family, friends, enemies, neighbors, etc. Hello, it is Sunday morning, early. I am up, back on schedule. Anyway, I was actually researching Grant Hardin. I was going to weigh in on him because of, I said that I thought that he would shoot it out, police and everything. And I came upon this story. 2 things happened on Friday in the Arkansas Department of Corrections. We have Grant Hardin was captured, and Latavious Johnson was found dead on death row in his cell. Now, the story, I found this story good to highlight contraband tennis shoes in jail. So it'll tie in with that. Contraband tennis shoes, what is that? What is that specifically? Contraband tennis shoes are any tennis shoes that cannot be purchased on the prison's commissary. Now, I'll say this. In the federal system, we have multiple prisons, and different prisons sell different shoes, okay? So, it's not uncommon for a guy to come from one prison to another and have tennis shoes that you can't purchase in that prison. Those will then become exclusive tennis shoes, not necessarily contraband, okay? But exclusive. But there are tennis shoes that are very, very obvious that are not sold in any prisons, such as Air Jordans, okay? For example, in 2005, I was at Lewisburg. I had a big store doing a lot of hustling, running tickets, stores, whatever. And I came upon, fly just came in this room. First fly since I've been in this room, by the way. I came upon a pair of tennis shoes, Air Jordans that were like a size 13 or 15. And I ended up giving them to a guy by the name of Mark Ryder. Mark Ryder, ties to the Gambino family, big heroin dealer, recently died. I've done some stories about him. Anyway, myself, when I was at FCI Terra Hut for the years that I was there, I got into to buying some of these contraband tennis shoes. Now, the tennis shoes I was buying were more like a Van style, like Van slip-ons and stuff like that. And at one point I had like 3 pairs and I kind of became obsessed with them. Those tennis shoes were taken from R&D. Now, when people come into a prison and turn themselves in and self-surrender, a lot of them, they'll come from either court or the jail where they came from court to the jail, and they're wearing the same outfit that they did either at trial when they pled guilty, or some guys just turn themselves in and they're dressed kind of sharp, you know? So those tennis shoes are supposed to either be sent back home or destroyed. Destroyed usually means that if an R&D orderly has a good rapport with staff, he'll be able to snatch those tennis shoes and bring them in and sell them. Now, in the case of Latavious Johnson, this guy down in Arkansas, I don't know the circumstances surrounding how he got the shoes or what kind of shoes they were, and it doesn't really matter. Again, I was giving some examples of how in the federal system we get contraband tennis shoes in. This is no secret. This is not something this is something that's widely known, okay? And again, this is not at every joint. And I want to be clear that taking tennis shoes from one prison to another and then reselling them for a profit is common within the feds because, like I said, so many different prisons sell different tennis shoes. So here we go. So Latavious Johnson. Latavious Johnson was serving a life sentence he pled guilty to for murdering his father in 2000. The father had a bunch of alcohol, drug, gambling issues, mental health issues. So did Latavious. And for whatever reason in 2000, he kills her. He ends up at the Bricky unit. The Bricky unit, I've never been. I will say that when I talk to people who've done time in Arkansas, Bricky and Dermont comes up as some of their least favorite nowadays, okay? So anyway, Barbara Ester, a corporal, correction officer, spots Latavious wearing these tennis shoes or in possession of the tennis shoes and confronts him, and he gets kind of lippy and she goes and gets help. And like I said in the intro, ultimately this leads to her death. I will say in the Arkansas, in the Arkansas Department of Corrections, they memorialized her by naming a prison after. It's called the Esther unit. I believe it's more of a pre-release unit now. Or was it an intake? I think it's a pre-release. And I believe it's in one of the Benton facilities, I think. Anyway, Latavious is sentenced, goes to trial for the murder of the correctional officer, of Barbara. And he's found guilty, and he's now given a death sentence. On Friday, in the Arkansas Department of Corrections, I guess at 3:30, they said they were doing cell checks, or they came upon a guy in a cell who was not alive. And this is Latavious Johnson, age 43 now. The circumstances, they don't know. I might add that it was not too long ago, April 1st, that Bruce Ward, age 68, was found dead in his cell at 2. Oh, by the way, death row is now at Supermax and at the Varner unit. Back in the day when I was doing time, it was in the Tucker Max. So they've changed that since I've been in that system. But he, like I said, he was on death row at Varner Supermax. They found his body, and as of yet, they have not revealed the cause of death. So we'll see how that turns out. I just wanted to do a short one about this subject. Like I said, tie it into contraband tennis shoes. I'm stuck on cell phones. Contraband tennis shoes. I will say that it got to a point to where they kept confiscating, in my personal opinion, or my personal story, it got to a point to where they would confiscate them, and it wasn't worth keep buying the contraband shoes. It seems kind of stupid when you think about it, right? But these shoes are actually a big deal. It's usually the ballers, the dudes that are big players that have these shoes. But nevertheless, it's a thing in prison for sure. And in this case, this guy didn't want to give them up, and it cost a correctional officer her life. Tragedy on all the way around, really. All right, short one. Take care. There'll be another video out today, this Sunday.